Did you
Okay,
did
think
you
that
open?
yes.
Okay. Mhm.
So I think we can start.
Mhm.
So hello everyone, welcome to our webinar, AI-driven innovation solving real-world problems. This last webinar is part of the Protechting program, an open innovation initiative led by Fidelidade, Zoom and Hospital da Luz, and organized by Fábrica de Startups. Protecting is a program designed to connect startups with industry leaders. It's all about fostering collaboration, driving innovation, and creating impactful pilot projects. And here's the important part. Applications for this Protecting edition close this week. So if you are a startup with a great project, don't miss this opportunity to join a program that can really boost your startup. Visit protecting.com to learn more and submit your application. Now, let's focus on today's topic, how artificial intelligence is transforming industries from decision-making processes to customer experiences. We will hear from experts about real-world applications of AI and the opportunities it offers in sectors like healthcare and insurance. Let me introduce our speakers. We have with us René Bohnsack, founder and professor, is our moderator, who will guide today's conversation. José Vieira, Data Science Manager at Fidelidade, and also Nuno Silva, Deputy Director for Training, Research and Innovation at Luz Saúde. Hello, everyone. We will have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go along. And that's it from my side. Now over to you, René.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Margarita. And it's really exciting to be here this evening with everyone, especially with Nuno and with Jose. We're going to spend like the next 40 minutes talking about AI in the healthcare sector and the insurance sector, but specifically also like how would this affect startups, right? How could it be used? And the idea was that we start kind of more general, as in like how does it affect the industry in general? What are kind of applications that we see already in your two companies? And then go more specific, like in what opportunities we see with startups, and then we have like this Q&A, and everyone should join that Q&A. But before we start, I would like to invite maybe Nuno starting first. Can you say a few things about yourself, like and maybe something like your experience with AI and something that's not on your CV?
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm very happy to be here with René and José, sharing a bit of what you are doing at the show at Learning Else. So, as mentioned, I work at Hospital de Luz Learning Else, which is a company within the group that is responsible for managing training, research, and innovation. And my role is I have two teams, the data science team and the innovation team. So I basically do both things. So either contact with startups and also development of AI projects within Luz Saúde and with our partners. So in a nutshell, that's me.
Very exciting. Thank you very much, Nuno. And now over to José, working at Fidelidade. Maybe you can share a few words about yourself.
Thank you very much, René, and thank you also for the Protecting team for the invitation, and thank you, Nuno, for the participation. And I hope to share and receive a lot of ideas coming from this webinar. So, as mentioned, my name is José Vieira, and I work at Fidelidade for the Center of Artificial Intelligence and Analytics. So, we basically develop everything around machine learning except pricing, fraud, and risk. That's delegated to the technical teams. We do a lot of things. We have been building speech bots, automated reading of invoices. We have been creating propensity models. We have done a lot, and I think the startups environment can help us do a little bit of a additional disruption that I think we need in large companies, and that energy that startups have, I think it's very useful. And we have been alongside with the Center for Transformation doing a monetization of the startups that are existing in the ecosystem. I've been working at Fidelidade for 7 years, and what is not in my CV is that I'm a proud father of 2 young girls, and that's it. Very eager for this webinar.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Jose. Like maybe before we start, also like a few words about myself. So I'm René Bohnsack. I'm a professor at Católica Lisbon, and also like the director of the Digital and Sustainable Innovation Lab, where we do a lot of work on AI and digital transformation in projects, but also in research and executive education. And at the same time, also like the founder of two AI startups actually at the moment, one AI for innovation and one kind of like ChatGPT for enterprise kind of AI in a box startup. So I'm very excited to be here and learn like what's happening in the healthcare sector, what's happening in the insurance sector, what can be done and where are opportunities, because that's what we want as entrepreneurs, no? And also like as researchers. So let's start maybe just very general and maybe I leave that always up to you, like who wants to start, okay? Just generally, like what do you think, like a big picture, if we look at the big picture, how do you see AI transforming your industry? And what are kind of like the most notable examples that you have come across, maybe in your company or outside?
Okay, Nuno, I will pick this one up. So I would say for us, I would say two things, because they are what they are guiding us towards to 2025. So we are guiding ourselves with two main strategic drivers, which is operational efficiency and profitability. And I do believe that AI can bring, and startups as a whole can bring a lot of what we can gain in terms of operational efficiency. There is room for automating processes and therefore enabling us to be more faster to deploy new products, enabling us to provide better services to our customers. And I think that is a very clean and clear use case that AI can help us out. At Fidelidade, we have, I would say, a huge business case around one specific topic, which is automobile claim settlement. I would say we have a near complete 100% digital experience to our customers, where if they have a car accident, they can use our My Fidelidade app. They can take a screenshot of the car accident form they had to fulfill alongside with the other person involved. There is AI there extracting all the information in that specific form. And then everything is managed through the app, and you can follow up what happened with your car. Where do you have to deliver in that specific car shop? You will receive SMSs, and you can follow up the entire chronological approach of the car settlement in the app. So I think that AI enables us to have that experience, and we now, instead of waiting a couple of minutes or even in sometimes hours to do this type of process, AI is leveraging us that in less than 5 minutes, the customer has an SMS on their end, and they are aware that Fidelidade is taking care of their settlement. So I would say that's a good use case of using AI, joining in with the business use case, and providing, in the end, a better experience to the customer.
And transforming the industry, right?
And transforming the industry. I would say that this is a unique use case in terms of, at least in terms of Portugal, and the results that we are gathering, even in customer feedback of their own satisfaction, like in the NPS, we are gathering good results, and I think that's in the end what it counts.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Jose. Like Nuno, how was that in your industry?
Yeah, so from our perspective, so AI has a huge potential to change healthcare. It's really, we see AI as a process reengineering tool to rebuild processes and reimagine healthcare from a different perspective. Think about new processes, change the way things are done. That can be now done with the help of AI. It has huge impacts, I would say, in twofold. So first, in time. So we will save time from physicians, time from people, from administrative tasks. And from the other side, will help to get better outcomes for patients, that's actually what we do. We provide care, so we want to best care as possible. It can transform healthcare, I would say, also in 3 domains. So operational, how can we be more efficient? That's related with time, saving time, improving time, allocate better the time, better our resources. In clinical practice, so how can we improve the way physicians interact with our clients? How can we do it more human? So how can we use AI to leverage this? And on the other side, also on developing new questions or asking new questions. So also for research, how can you use AI to create knowledge? Because that's something that's not possible with data, and that's something that we try to do here. One of the things that we are doing internally is to build the conditions so this change can happen together with the ecosystem. So changing healthcare it's a huge thing. So it's only possible if we do it as a team and with all ecosystem, startups with new ideas, fresh mindsets, big corporate as ours, hospitals. So that's only possible if it's a joint effort. And one of the things that we are doing here, so we build a test bed, so it is an infrastructure.
Okay.
So startups can test their products, show their value. Our professionals can interact with the companies and see how we could use and test new products. So this test bed is a facility that is available for startups. So we have three environments. So we have in Silico Lab, which is basically a digital area where startups can try and test their AI algorithms. Yeah, so you have a new algorithm, you want to try it out, you need a data set. So we have an environment to do this. We have a simulation center, which is a replica of the hospital. So, but the main difference is that instead of having patients, we have mannequins that allow us to simulate different scenarios, and which is very, very often used for startups to validate their ideas. So sometimes you don't need to go directly to the hospital, but you can validate in a very close to real environment. That's what we are doing also. And at the end, we have the hospital where you have patients, physicians, and where they can demonstrate their value more broadly.
That's really interesting. Say, like, do you, both of you, do you have like examples of like how you already worked together with startups before, maybe in AI or maybe like in another area? And on top of that, what are your priorities at the moment? Where do you see like this would be great if a startup would work on this? Maybe Jose, if you want to start.
So in the past, and even in the coming from the Protechting, one of the Protechting editions we had in the past, we had a winner, which is Visual AI. They helped us create what is now our main chatbot in our website, and that is still being used and is still being developed and being leveraged as it's being increased in terms of functionalities. And that is actually a very good example because we were able to identify a specific area. First, it started more or less like an isolated part of our website for do some trials, and then we were able to incorporate in the institutional website, and it's working very well. It's even in multicare as well, so it's even in Fidelidade and multicare website. And I would say that more or less like Nuno has explained, identifying a specific place where in an isolated form we can have startups developing their own ideas and then incorporate in our core systems, and or of course going through the more heavy processes that we have. If we can deliver in those two aspects, that isolated environment and then moving towards the integration in our core systems, I would say that that's the only recipe for success. So, and that is a use case that we had for, in this case, Visual AI and for chatbot development.
That's really cool. Like, and Nuno, did you have like any examples before?
Yeah, so from Protechting, for example, we work closely with Uphill, which is a Portuguese startup that developed a tool to have more fluid clinical pathways, and we are implementing with them in our system currently a new product. So it was a startup that came from Protechting, but we are also working with other startups. For example, Agentify, which is our assistant. When people call to Hospital de Luz, they will be answered. There will be the bot that from Agentify. Other examples. So we work closely with universities. We develop hackathons. For example, we will have an hackathon this weekend. And one interesting story about hackathons is that one of the ideas coming out of one of these hackathons, actually, they founded a startup and they tested the startup in our test bed, in our simulation center. It was a startup safe caring that aimed to detect falls. So they were able, it was kind of a curious story, right? You start with an idea that you build a startup, and at the end of the day, we are also helping them trying their product, give them feedback so they can improve. So it's not about integration, but it's also about how we can contribute to all the value chain, right? So Protechting is also about that. So it's of course helping startups to improve their products over the program, and I think that's some of the examples that we have now. that I can share.
I like that. I mean, generally, as also like a startup founder myself, I always think like it's great to work together with corporations, but there's also like sometimes challenges, right? Because like decision making takes sometimes longer, and maybe you would not perceive like larger companies as so innovative. Why do you think it's like specifically for your industry that you are in, why is it a good idea for companies to, like for startups specifically, to work together with you? Maybe Nuno, if you want to continue.
Yeah, I can go first. That's fine.
Mm.
So why are startups important? Because they come with new ideas. They come from different perspectives to the system. That because we are in our day-to-day job, so they shake the system. They push us to think in a different way. They challenge the status quo, and that's needed so we can improve and we can move forward.
Yeah.
And that's something that it's not just healthcare. So healthcare is highly complex to do it. That's why you need to have an ecosystem working together. It's not just about a startup with a new idea, but a startup with an hospital, with a physician, maybe with a payer that will be able to drive change. But startups are key to move forward in healthcare for sure.
And vice versa, Nuno, like why should a startup, like what's the benefit of working together with your learning lab, for instance?
Yes. So in our perspective, we can also add value to startups. So imagine you have a startup that needs to validate a product because they need a certification to get a CE marked, for example, or an FDA approved, that they will need to do a clinical study within either a hospital or in a simulation center to validate an idea so they can a certification stamp. That's something that they can do collaborating with us. From the other side, getting feedback from the users or either patients or physicians, that's key. That key to have it as early as possible so they can then pivot maybe the product to other things because they get good feedback that they would not have if they just have contact with the company at later stages. So from our perspective, it's a win-win situation. So startups, so we benefit from their mindset and from their energy, that we also have a lot of energy, right? But it also helps us to push and to shake the system that's needed. And for them, it's also good because they can get feedback. They maybe need a clinical study to speed up the way they can certify their products. So I think it's a win-win situation, the collaboration.
No, I know you have a lot of energies. That's true, Nuno.
Can I add up on Nuno? So I also
100%, yes, I was just about to ask you.
because I think that also in terms of a win solution for or a win way for the startups is that the business knowledge that our companies can deliver to their augmented product. I think that's also very useful. Of course, test beds is for sure, and the data available for them to test. But the knowledge regarding what the business works and how it works, I think that's also very profound and very interesting for the startups, and also how to work with a large company. I mean, this change management approach is very difficult for us already in terms of working the center and creating AI within just as well as the Learning Health Center at Lucia Wood. So we already have a change management process ongoing, and bringing the startups, I think it's like an increased effort for everyone. So I do believe that they understanding how it works on a daily basis, introducing and changing process within a large company is also an added benefit for them as well. Okay, and one other thing is that, of course, I'm a little bit biased here, but I do believe that the center as ours, and also as the Learning Health in Lucia Wood, we work more or less like startups. We are very recent in Fidelidade. We only have 7 years, and we are talking about a 215-year-old company. So we are very new, and we try to do new things. So we already push some of the problems that startups may encounter when coming to a larger company. And these specific centers, I do believe they are also like an opportunity for startups to join our efforts and try to make a difference and try to create new processes, new products. And I think that if we join ventures, just as Nuno was mentioning, I think that we can help our companies to do something different. And all the energy, all the new ways of thinking, all the, I would say, non-biased approach to processes is very helpful from the startups and help us do what we have to do within our companies.
Let me ask like now a different question. So sometimes we see that, or not sometimes, actually, like the best markets and niches for startups are kind of pain points, you know, like to actually like address pain points that companies have. Like what kind of pain points do you see like in context of AI, right? Where do you see like the pain points that we have to solve?
Maybe I go first and then you continue. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So I think the first pain point is to define if there is an AI problem or if it's not an AI problem. Because of this huge hype about AI, every company talks about AI and suddenly there's ChatGPT everywhere. So I think the first thing is really to understand the problems that you are facing. And after that, understand how complex the problems are, how many times this task happens. And maybe that's the case for AI. So not all the problems will be solved by AI. As I mentioned before, we look at AI as a re-engineering tool, and not all the process will need AI. Some will, some will not. So I think the first pain point is to recognize when you need to use it. And then the next one will be data. Sometimes you want to do things, and then the data is not available, or the quality is not the quality that we wanted to have.
Yeah.
We miss labels, so we want to do supervised learning and we don't have the labels. And that's something that I think startups also need to understand, and also to be able to adapt themselves during this process, because sometimes the initial idea doesn't work or doesn't fit currently because we don't have the data or the data is not available, and they will need to change a little, and then we'll have success testing maybe a bit different use case in another area. So I would say there's two things. First, I will let José talk about the other ones that he also faces, but I would say first understand where's the problem, and then regarding data.
So 100% in terms of priority, okay, in terms of pain points, for sure. I will add like the bottom two, which would be like people and processes. So people in terms of managing expectations. Everyone is expecting that we talk about 100% results, which is, I mean, we are talking about probabilities, but they are very used to work with traditional software. So they are expecting a lot. So the joint venture of talking about the expectation of what is AI and what is not, and also, okay, if it is AI, what is the expected outcome that we can have? So trying to translate and communicate with the business and discussing the metrics of the models is something that is complicated, but it has to be done. So everything related to communication within organizations, training within organizations is crucial for this part, okay? And in the end, even if we decide it's an AI problem to be solved, we can fail. We may not have the necessary data. We may not have the necessary conditions. We may conclude that in the end, we won't be having a solution using AI. Okay, so managing all that expectations, that's the people part, one of the pain points. The other in terms of processes, do we have the technology needed? Do we have the processing in place to be fast in terms of deployment, in terms of monitoring these models? Are we there yet already? For this specific use case that's being presented, can we answer to the specific need and then making sure that it's up to date and we can have the feedback? So transforming this, taking into consideration that large companies typically have a lot of systems, so incorporating AI in different systems, it takes time and it is painful. So I would say that adding on two of the ideas that Nuno mentioned, the other two would be people and processes as well.
Right. No, I totally see that. Now, I imagine, let's say I'm a recent graduate from university, engineer, computer engineer, and now I never heard anything about healthcare or insurance, let's say, except for like having my own insurance and going to the hospital. Now, how would you advise like a startup or someone who wants to start a startup to find an idea in the healthcare or insurance area, right? Like to find like how would you go about that? Where would you advise startups to look for like this is an area where we see like a lot of potential to go in? Does that make sense?
Sure. So One of the things is, I mean, Nuno just mentioned you will be having an hackathon, so participating in any kind of initiatives that these types of companies provide, conferences that we make, webinars such as these, we tend to share, and at least from the center perspective, we tend to share a lot to the community because the data science community may not know what we are doing in terms of our more traditional healthcare and insurance companies as compared to the other that have data science as a core. So we can identify very easily enterprises that work with AI at their core, and therefore an undergraduate can easily be more aware of what they are doing. So I think it's a responsibility on our end to make sure that we promote what there is for undergraduates in STEM to work with us.
Oh, that's great. Nuno, did you want to add? Do you want to add?
Yeah, definitely. As I was mentioned, and also apply for the program. So you have an idea, you don't have to have a perfect idea. It will not be. It will change over time. So even if you have a good idea, if you have a good team, apply to the program and evolve the idea through the program. As I mentioned before, as early as possible, you get contact with people from the industry that will be able to shape a better product because you get feedback earlier in the development process. So I would say programs like Protechting or the test beds, they are key so companies can really evolve their products, and it's kind of fail fast, right? So you can keep improving.
So, I mean, actually following up on this, we have one of the questions from the audience is, and that links to that. So imagine you already have a solution, right? And the question is like, when approaching larger companies for AI collaborations, how can a startup demonstrate the value of its solution effectively, right? So at this case, a startup already identified like a certain solution. What should it do, talking to you, like to demonstrate that it's a good solution?
Well, what I would suggest is for us to create what we call like a POCs, like a proof of concept, where we create a specific environment with specific data and try it out, the product, and see if we can measure some results. And using that sample, we can then estimate what could be an interesting business case. Because that's the way we internally as a center, we also work with our internal customers, is that we propose an idea or they propose an idea. And the first thing we do is that we try it out. Will this work in this specific sample? If it works, we then create the business case to explain to the business as a whole and to the company as a whole that that this makes sense and this has added value. So trying to engage with the company and convince them to do a POC, I would say that's the winning solution.
Good idea. Good idea. Yes, Nuno?
Yeah, in our case, I would say it's applied to the test bed. If you have a product that you think it can help healthcare, so apply to the test bed. So we have a structured program that allows you to contact with the people. So what we do, we first have a small interview to know the company. I can explain shortly the process. So interview with the company to understand the product. Have a match with one of our transformers. So we have some transformation projects within Lushu that are led by transformers. So we have a match between the startup and the transformer. They talk with each other and then they find if there's a use case or if there's not a use case. And actually only by having these meetings, it's always very useful because companies get feedback. Even if it's not going to a pilot, they get feedback from someone that maybe will go back, re-engineer a bit their product and come back again. So from our perspective, I would say apply to the test bed or to these kind of programs, because that's something that I was discussing with José that we are building the ecosystem. So we're building the conditions so startups can interact with these large companies, so that we are building the bridges. So that's not a complex project. It's not a very complex process. So it's a submission of a link either with Protechting with a test bed, and I would say that just apply.
I like that. To what extent, I mean, if I'm in that space, one of the things I haven't worked in the healthcare insurance tech space, but one of the things that I can imagine is that it's quite regulated, and then we have now the EU AI Act. How would you advise startups to navigate this, and also like the regulatory environment?
Okay, so I go first.
Sure.
Okay.
This one is awesome for you.
Yeah, no. And so healthcare is actually highly regulated. So all these AI tools, they are now being regulated by the AI Act, but you also have the medical device regulation where they also gets in. So our advice to startups is actually that they have a scientific mindset. They will need to have evidence that their tool works to get certification. And that's not if they want to sell in Europe, they will need to have evidence. So our advice is that they have a scientific mindset of building evidence, and in this process, we can help them on that of building the evidence that they will need to get the certification. It's not something that will stop them to do the innovation, but if they have the right partners to help them to move fast, and that I think that at Lucia Wood we have a team that is able to help the startups to navigate the complexity of the regulation and help them to do the trials or the studies that they need to get the approvals.
Okay.
So my take there is more or less like the approach that we have with our compliance team, our friends from the compliance team, which is we should aim for the sky in terms of no limits, in terms of what we would like to do. And then we would have a clear discussion with our compliance team to understand what can we do. So my take for the startups is that, of course, don't read the. I mean, you may if you want, but you can read the GDPR and the UI Act and try to understand all the intricacies regarding that. But my suggestion is try to go for your product, the thing you want to do, and then try it out with the large companies you want to sell your product and validate if that use case and that functionality you want to add makes sense and can be applied within the regulatory scope that you're working on. So I would say that if you try to build your product already restricted by the regulation, you may have an issue there. And by the way, the regulatory is not the same in very different spaces in countries. So, I mean, if you want to work only in Portugal, if you want to work only in our regulation system, you should be aware of some of the basic use cases. But I would say aim for the sky and then let us see what we can do together. That would might be my suggestion.
Now coming towards the end, I would also like, first of all, invite everyone, if you have any questions, please post them here as well. I'm not sure if we can open the microphone. That would also be like, for me, that would be perfectly fine. But just Nuno and Jose, like looking forward, where do you see like what's the future of AI? Like some say like we're just at the beginning, like kind of like the Cameron revolution. What are we going to see? Like if you think about like 5 years from now, what do you see? Like how might AI have already changed your industry if you would have a glass ball,
It's difficult to predict the future, right? That's just trying to do predictions, but it's always difficult to predict the future.
Yes.
What I know is that it has a huge potential to transform either healthcare or insurance companies. And what I do believe is that people that use AI will be a step ahead of people that don't use it, because it will allow us to augment our performance, and the way that we work will optimize the way that you work. It's difficult to say, okay, there will be less administrative tasks or better outcomes. Of course, there will be this opportunity, and I do believe that the system will improve as a whole, with better outcomes, easier way to access care, and with less burden for the professionals. And there's a lot of promise about AI. It's up to the companies like us, like ours, to make it happen, and we are doing a lot of efforts to make it happen and to reimagine how the future will be with AI.
I mean, I'm thinking like things like social robotics in 5 years. Now, do we have like only Optimus in Hospital de Luz, where actually there might not be even a doctor anymore in the hospital? Or do you think that's a long way down the line?
I think it's a long way down the line. I think that the people is key. Healthcare is about people, taking care of people with people. So I do believe that there might be robots for doing some tasks, but people will be key. So, for example, we are doing a test with a robot from Técnico at the hospital.
Okay.
And I think we are far from this scenarios and that you mentioned.
René, you can look for self-driving cars. So it's actually a long way promise, and we are still a little bit far from the everyone using self-driving cars. Another example is, for example, Alexa. You can try million ways for us to discuss to light your lights within your room. And if you say Wingardium Leviosa, you won't understand that you want to light up your room. So it doesn't make sense. So we are a little bit far away from that. And not talking about prediction, but talking about expectations. I would say that in 5 years, I would like to imagine that we will have like a very natural symbiosis between our day-to-day activities and AI co-pilots helping us doing that. So everything that I do for living, you're writing emails, doing presentations, discussing with the data science team problems, creating data science projects. And also, if I compare, for example, our own agents within the insurance sector, everyone that is managing claims, answering emails to the customer, everything that is followed up by an AI co-pilot that is helping their own day-to-day activities. So my expectation is that everything regarding technology that we are seeing is that they're moving towards agentic AI, and I do believe that the agentic AI will help us get there. That specific symbiosis on every operating system that you use, any product that you use internally in your company, it will have more or less like an AI co-pilot helping you every single type of solution.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally see that. That's kind of like the direction where we are heading with different type of agents, multi-level agents, right? Yeah. No, absolutely. So we are coming kind of like towards an end of our webinar, but is there like anything that you would like to give as advice? I mean, you've seen like many startups, you've worked together with many startups, and now we have a cohort of new startups coming in. Is there like any advice, not necessarily linked to AI, but just generally say like, look, this is something that I would like to share with you.
I go first? Okay. So I would say the main advice is to come with at least in healthcare, to come with a scientific approach. So think like a scientist,
Okay.
and be open to adapt.
Okay.
So don't close in your product. So be open to adapt, get the feedback, and adapt the product so you are able to test them. That's, I would say, it's the main advice.
Think like a scientist. I like that. Very good. Okay. Thank you, Nuno.
Just to add on top of that, take chances. I mean, we want disruption. I think that's at least my expectation from a startup is that I don't want a replicated system that I already have. I don't want a replicated solution that I'm already thinking of. I want something I have not thought of before. So I would say that, of course, I'm aiming for the sky again, but I would say that's my takeaway for startups.
Think big, definitely.
Dream big. I like that.
Think big, yeah, exactly.
Like the other day, like no, actually I think
think big like a scientist.
Yesterday I saw somewhere this quote which said like, if you're embarrassed of your product, you actually launch too late. And I like that, right?
Yeah.
So, which I mean, like it's kind of like a third thing. Of course, you need to be careful in the healthcare sector to do that, but just generally, I thought it was like an interesting way of looking at it. So we already have Margarita here with us, and Margarita, we started ladies first, and we also go ladies last.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much. Was great to hear you, and thank you very much for everyone that is with us. I hope you have gained valuable insights into how AI is shaping industries and solving real world challenges. Just a quick reminder, so Protechting applications close this week, so don't miss this opportunity to be part of this incredible journey. Visit protechting.com to submit your application. Thank you again to our speakers, René, José, Nuno, for your time and expertise, and thank you all for being here with us. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was great
Thank
to
you very
meet
much.
you.
Cheers.
Thank you, René, Nuno.
Bye bye. Take care.
Yo, ciao, ciao.
Bye.